Hello everyone, and welcome to the lecture on reading HTML files. In this lecture, we'll see how we can read HTML files. As usual, we start by importing pandas as PD, import numpy as np, and from pandas import series and data frame. Before we go any further, we'll need to install 3 libraries for reading HTML files. So the libraries we need to install are LXML, Beautiful Soup 4, and HTML5 library. Let me write them down. LXML, HTML5 library, lib, and then Beautiful Soup 4. Beautiful Soup 4. If you are using Mac, open up your terminal, and if you are using Windows, open up your command prompt and install the following libraries by using the conda install command. So conda install LXML, and once you finish installing LXML, install the next library, HTML5 library. Conda install HTML5 library, and finally install the Beautiful Soup 4. Conda install Beautiful Soup 4. It's one word. HTML5 lib is one word, LXML is one word. Okay, so on your terminal or command prompt, if you are using Windows, simply type conda install LXML, and then once it finishes installing, it will ask you to proceed yes, no, select Y for yes, enter, and then once you finish installing LXML, install HTML5 library, and finally install the Beautiful Soup 4 library. And after finishing your installation, restart your Jupyter notebook and follow along with the lecture. Great. For this lecture, we'll look at an example on pandas documentation on reading HTML files. To read HTML files, we'll use the method known as read_HTML. So this is similar to the read_CSV method. Okay, read_HTML. And we'll look at an example, which is this link. It contains a list of failed banks. So if I go to the link, so this is what the URL is, a list of failed banks. It gets updated every week, I think. And here is a table containing the list of failed banks, and it's made up of HTML. So we'll use the read_HTML method to read this table. And you can read more about the read_HTML method here. There are a few examples. You can read more about it in the documentation. Okay, so let's go back to our lecture. What I'll do is copy this link and save it in a certain variable. Let's save it in a variable called bank_URL. You can save it anywhere that you like. Okay, so this is the URL, and what we'll do next is use the read_HTML method to read the contents of this URL. So pd that read_HTML, and then we'll pass our URL variable or object, which is bank_URL. Okay, so this read_HTML method is in pandas, and we can save this in some variable. Let me call it data frame. PD is not defined. Let's run this. Then run this again. Okay, so this read_HTML method, it returns a list of data frames. Okay, so if I type data frame and then run the cell, I'll see a list of data frames. You see here, starts with rectangular brackets and it goes on. So the method returns a list of data frames. So since it returns a list, what we can do is we can index it. So we can go ahead and say data frame and then index 0. Run it again. So now we have the table, right? Bank name, city, state, and so on, all those columns and associated values. Okay, 549 rows by 7 columns. You see here we have 549 entries, and it goes on to the next page. We have about 25 pages. So that's one thing to remember. The read HTML method returns a list of data frames. So we'll have to index it and then to see the contents of the table that we want to see. Okay? And if I want to see, let's say, the first 10 banks, the first 10 rows, what we can do is we can say data frame. Once we index it, we can pass up to 10. Okay? Now let's run it. So you'll see the first 10 rows. So index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 9. Okay, that's how you can see whatever number of rows you want to see. Okay, data frame and then index 0, that will return the entire table. And then we can sub-index that up to 10. You'll see the first 10 rows. So since it's a list, you can use list indexing. And if I want to see columns, let's say from index 10 to 20, we can do that. Run it again. So you'll see index number 10 all the way to 19. So this is the read underscore HTML method. You might also come across another method to read HTML files. You might see the io.html.read underscore HTML method. Let me write it down. pd.io.html.read underscore HTML. You might also see this in literature. So you can use either one of these methods to read HTML files, either pd.readhtml, or you might see pd.io.html.readhtml. They serve the same purpose. Okay, let's see an example of reading the same table using this method. Okay, let's first, so we already have our bank URL. So we saved it in a variable called bank underscore URL. And then let's save our method in a variable called bank underscore data frame. And then we'll use the pd.io.html.read underscore HTML. And then we'll pass our bank underscore URL, which is the URL. And similar to the previous method, the pd.io.html also returns a list of data frames. So if I say data frame, so if I try to see our bank data frame object, it returns a list of data frames. Okay, so again, we'll need to index it and then pass 0 to see the table. Let's do that. So I'll comment this, run it again. So in a new cell, I'll say bank underscore data frame index 0. Now we'll see our table. Okay, 549 rows by 7 columns. And similarly, if I want to see certain rows, we can do that. Let's say up to 5. That will give us the first 5 rows and so on. Okay, so one thing to remember is regardless of which method you use, whether read underscore HTML or pd.io.html, they both return a list of data frames and we'll need to index it. As an exercise for you, I have a Wikipedia link here. It contains a list of US states. So use the read underscore HTML method to read the contents of this HTML table. Okay, so let's paste it here and save the URL in a variable called state. So this is the state. We can use pandas read underscore HTML method and then pass our state variable, and we can save this in some variable, let's say x. If I try to read x, this will return a list of data frames similar to the failed banks example, right? So here you have a list of data frames, and what we can do is index our data frame. So let's index it and pass 0 means the first index, right? So it gives us the table. So we have abbreviation, state name, capital, became a state. Okay, and we can further index it if we want. You can pass whatever index you like. Let's say x, 0. If I want to see the first 4 rows, I can do that. Up to 4. And I see the first 4 rows or first 3 states here. Okay, that's what I have for reading HTML files. So check out the documentation on reading HTML files, so you can read more about it there. They have a few examples. Okay, great. Thank you everyone, and see you at the next lecture.